Security Now Illustrated by AskMisterWizard.com, illustrating concepts, mechanisms, and algorithms from the amazing Security Now podcast by Steve Gibson and Leo LaPorte. This is segment B, the second of 5 segments in episode 11 on bad Wi-Fi security.
Well, what happened is really interesting. It was designed by the WEP, W-E-P, this original encryption, was designed without consulting security people. It was a security protocol designed by engineers who had the best of intentions, but weren't security people. For example, it uses an extremely good cipher technology called RC4. That's an RSA proprietary cipher, which is very good for encrypting as long as you use it correctly. And that's really the key. The foundation of WEP encryption with this RC4 cipher is extremely strong, but it was used in a very bad way. For example, an absolutely unbreakable encryption is something called the one-time pad. With a one-time pad, and this was used by the U.S. military in early world wars, and was never broken because it is unbreakable. And I don't say that casually. I mean, really, truly unbreakable. Not like, oh, there aren't enough computer power. It would take X billion years. No, unbreakable. The idea is that you generate random numbers, and now that's super critical. The numbers have to be really, truly random.
Now that's hard for a computer to do, in fact.
Well, it's very hard, and in fact, back in World War I, it was the bingo bowl approach where they had a whole bunch of letters A through Z in a big ball that rolled around, and the cage spit one out, and they wrote this down on a pad of paper, which is why it's called a one-time pad, and then they put that ball back in, waited a minute, pulled the next one out. So they ended up with a pad of paper with letters A through Z, really, really, really random. Then they mixed the message that they wanted to send with this pad. And in the case of mixing, for example, you would take the letter you wanted to send, you would look up the first spot on the pad, and it would be A through Z. Well, that told you how far along in the alphabet to shift the letter you wanted to send, sort of like forward. And so that would convert your letter A through Z to a different alphabetic letter A through Z, having sort of rotated it forward in the alphabet by the amount specified on the pad. Well, clearly, that would create a completely scrambled message. What's amazing is it's impossible to decrypt it. There is not enough information contained in that message.
Well, a short message. If you had a long message, eventually you'd see a pattern, right?
No.
Because you keep reusing, you keep changing it.
Yes.
You left out a key part.
Every single letter. For the second letter, you use the second position in your one-time pad. The third letter, the third position.
So there are no repeats.
And you never reuse your one-time pad ever. Now it turns out that some of our foreign adversaries also had the idea of a one-time pad. They made the mistake of reusing it. That's all it took to break their encoding, because reusing it and comparing these encrypted messages was essentially a huge mistake. But so the idea is when you receive this message, if you have the same one-time pad, and that was the problem with this approach, was that once this was generated, then the recipient had to have an identical copy of this pad. But for example, if you were a submarine operator, before you left port, you'd get a whole suitcase full of these one-time pad sheets, and then that's what your decryption officer would use in order to decrypt these messages. And once used, that pad was destroyed, and it would never be used again. That's an unbreakable cryptography. I mean, truly unbreakable.
To see the other segments and related resources for this episode 11, Please join us at AskMisterWizard.com. Select Security Now from the prominent section index at the top of the homepage, and then select number 11 from the episode index at the bottom. The original audio-only version of this podcast can be found on the Gibson Research Corporation site at grc.com/securitynow. This clip illustrates some of the highlights from that show. This video clip comes from a large collection of related clips. All are indexed and easy to find at www.askmisterwizard.com, along with related items, text articles, illustrations, and forums. Please visit us today. We appreciate your support. Thank you.